The One Piece! The One Piece is real!
Can we get much higher? So high.
It's a great day here at KEKcast, your number 7 One Piece podcast. Now that there's like 50 podcasts going on, I am your host, the KEK Filet, and today I have with me an Eggman exclusive
Hello.
episode. Right? He's on any other podcast.
Sorry. Did you
But-
say exclusive or exclusive?
Exclusive.
There it is.
I have with me today Wraith, aka Awakened TCG channel. How are you doing today, Wraith?
I'm doing good. Fantastic.
Great. And then I have Eggman Hayden. How are you doing today, Eggman?
Pretty good. Thank you.
Good. Very good. Today is actually St. Patrick's Day. Are you guys wearing any green? Like
I was, but then I needed to do some recording with my green screen,
Mhm.
and that doesn't clash. So I had to do that.
content creators. Oh man, that sucks so bad. That's so funny. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
You know. With that, a lot of cool stuff. OP06 just came out, so we're talking about OP06. A lot of events coming in the end of March and also all of April, being all offline events in April, right? And then
Yes.
we'll go into that a bit, and then on top of that, getting to know Eggman a bit more. I think we're actually going to start with that. So I always start my podcast with getting to know somebody, and the first question is, why the name Eggman? Where did that come from?
So I've been around for a while. I'm just turned 30. So when I started to do more like online content stuff, or more of this just esports stuff, I played Super Smash Brothers. My first game was Brawl, so I'm not like melee ancient, but like I'm a little ancient. And that game, it has a 5-character limit for your name tag. So I played Yoshi, so Eggman, but then I had to drop a G because of that, and that's literally what it was. So like Smash forums, that was my name, and then it just continued to be that for until now.
So there's like no correlation. You don't play like a bunch of Sonic the Hedgehog and
That's a big assumption. I get like some Beatles stuff. I do like having the 1G though. It's a double-edged sword because it took a while for like the YouTube algorithm to not correct it, and maybe it still does for everyone else, but for me it doesn't. Because I search myself up like every hour to make sure I'm still trending. But then also, my middle name has 1T. It's Matthew with 1T, so that's kind of significant. But then also when you're getting like domains and when you're getting like usernames and stuff, Eggman with 1G is usually a lot more available than Eggman with 2Gs. So that's been there's less of like Eggman official for reals for whenever I have to get any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but also people get really confused when they type in, Eggman events, or
That's true,
including your Twitch or your YouTube.
I have to. It's still almost daily, like having to remind. Like I still like be like, hey, by the way, it's with 1G, and like it is, and then they look through all my content, and they're like, oh, it has been literally forever.
Do you tell people that, like, who have never like met you before? It's Eggman with 1G. Like you have to clarify.
Sometimes, if I do like a lot of if I now have like a QR code on like a business card, so I can just be like, hey, if you want to check my stuff out, but like having to type it in, I'm usually like, let me just do it because it's 1G, it's obnoxious.
It's really funny for KEK Filet. People for some reason don't know how to spell KEK Filet, but it just kind of reminds me of people that have to remind me, like, hey, my name's Chris with a K. It's very especially that name. I don't know why Chris with the K is always have to say that their name's Chris with the K. I don't know if you had
no, nothing like, I mean, like Hayden's not like a super new like good name, like I don't know, like popular name, so I have to keep spelling that out. And then my last name's a monstrosity, so that one I have to spell it.
I don't even know if I know your last name right now off the top of my head. So
yeah, it's Finnish, so it's long and so it's, and I have to, and the pronunciation's weird too, so it's a struggle forever.
I'm glad Eggman is more simple. And you live around like Arizona area, right? So
yes.
Have you always kind of lived in that area?
No. So the short, I lived in, I'm born in Canada. I'm not a U.S. citizen. Moved when I was around 6. And right after 9/11, which I only mentioned because they made immigration and becoming a citizen tenfold harder after that happened. So, which is kind of, I mean, I know it's like 20 years ago, but it's kind of why it's I haven't really done it, but also because it hasn't really impacted me. But then did that for a long time. And as you can imagine, like Kansas is a fantastic place, but like their esports and their card game, all that kind of stuff, it's a lot harder to be part of a
Mhm.
scene and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
You have to travel a lot. So coincidentally, it made sense from my job that I had to move to Arizona,
Mhm.
which I did, and then I left that job, and I'm still here. So, and I just do content full time, which I don't think I could do content full time if I was living in Kansas, but Arizona, not only like the scene out here is fantastic, but being closer to California and West Coast events, it's just
Mhm.
made it a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely a lot cheaper. That's
Yes.
okay. Yeah, I think that sounds like a good idea, and it's one of those states. It's a nice enough state, you know, and it's not like the most expensive, but it's not like it is getting there. I'm sure it actually
It,
is getting there. Yeah.
it's like living in California, but like 20-30% cheaper.
Yeah.
And I really do mean it. Like it wasn't the reason I moved, but it's a really competitive card scene out here.
Mhm.
When I moved, we had the second place in North American Dragon Ball Super lives
Mhm.
and still lives here. Second place for Digimon Nationals that same year
Mhm.
was out here too, and then Jonas is literally out here. So like
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
every year for one of the card games I cover, someone within like 10 miles of me is like the national champion or runner up.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Do you think that kind of like, drives people in that area a little bit, or
Oh, it's
because
definitely my influence of being around here. I think that's
that's
the big
basically
thing.
it. They
Yeah.
have lower ping compared to us, seeing the Eggman.
If I want to be dumb about it, it's like, well, it's so dang hot out here. No one's gonna play outside. Everyone's just gonna be inside in a basement playing card games. Like it's the perfect, capital of just staying inside and playing card games.
Yeah, I mean, it is cheaper than California, but it is a lot hotter. It
It
is a
is,
lot hotter.
yeah, it
Mhm.
is very difficult. Yeah,
Yeah,
very hot,
Yeah,
very
because I
hot.
mean, I live in Utah. I'm just one state north, and it's
Mhm.
like perfect seasons, but then it's just Utah. It's still nice. It's still a competitive card scene, but it's not no
Wait for
Arizona.
it to get a little bit
Yeah.
hotter. Wait for global warming to become, a little bit
Mhm.
more of a thing. The scene will sprout up. I
Yeah.
have
You think
confidence.
so? Yeah. Everyone will get good if it's freaking hot everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
Florida, that's another thing, right? It's humid heat.
Mhm.
Texas, humid heat, right?
Mhm,
Canadians,
mhm.
you don't see that very often. It's not too hot
Well,
up there.
so the issue with Canadians is that a lot of the big events are, like, during the summer,
Mhm.
where it's nice in Canada, so they play outside. But the winter events, there's not a lot of events in winters, but if there were, oh, they'd be fantastic. They'd be stuck
Mhm.
inside. It's the same thing, but
Yeah.
indoors.
And actually, small topic. OP05, it was supposed to be like the most competitive thing, but there wasn't a lot of tournaments. Like
Very few,
very
yes.
few. I actually only played in two tournaments, nationals and one online one.
Yeah.
And I mean, X2 in both, but gosh, it's a kind of a crazy short compared to any other format.
Yeah, and I mean, this is, like, the end of the first year of One Piece. I've been
Uh-huh.
doing Bandai card games for 5 plus years,
Mhm.
and generally what it's like, to be honest, is that, at the end of the year, they don't have a lot of events because of the end of year stuff, but
Mhm.
they usually release a really, like, good set, to kinda compensate.
Mhm.
So it's really because Digimon was in the same thing. Digimon had a really good set, and they
Mhm.
had, like, one event before nationals as well, with it, and,
Mhm.
they do kinda, like I don't know if how on purpose this is or just coincidental, but if they release a set that you need to get cards from before the largest event of the year, you know you're gonna be buying cards, right?
Mhm.
People are gonna buying that set.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's actually really difficult, right?
Yeah.
And I was just thinking because this is actually a good segue. There's a lot of tournaments coming up, right? People are probably already have most of their cards they need for Santa Clara next weekend. You're gonna be there.
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah, both me and Wraith are gonna be there,
Okay.
coincidentally, but yes,
Coincidentally,
we
I
will.
won't be. You're obviously. Do you do much commentating when you're in person now, or is most people doing it online and then you're just kind of walking the floor and navigating? Like, what's that dynamic for you right now, or why would you even do that? Like, what's
It really just depends on the event.
Mhm.
There's, for all the stuff that I do for that stuff, none of it's, like, official or there's no like standard for it.
Yeah.
The reason that it exists as much as it has is because myself and my business partner Brian
Mhm.
are stage zero. We just like, you know what, we want to do these events, we want to make this coverage happen. And we want to be out there for them. So he's more of the guy with the equipment for it, and I'm more, he does YouTube content too,
Yeah.
obviously, but I a big core of my content is like deck list and tournament recovered. So we just want to make sure that that stuff kind of exists. So
Yeah.
it depends if like it makes sense for us to both go out there, or one of us, and then
Yeah.
like get, and what the internet situation. It's a lot of factors for
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But
And there's some
California's, oh, go for it.
Oh no. I wanted to ask about a different version of it because I've seen like I've been in Texas before. And it's like, oh, Eggman's live. He's covering Texas, but he's not here. Like someone else is recording it for him, but he's just commentating on his live stream. Like,
Yeah, but I was part of that live stream, right?
uh-huh.
It wasn't like restreaming on mine or anything
Oh,
like that.
okay.
But I was hired by Play TCG to do for the one that you're talking about, for the commentary for that one. So
Okay.
um
Have you done more like that, or has it just been that one?
I do a little bit like that. I do like Carta Magica.
Uh-huh.
I still run it, but like I go on their live stream. It just really depends on
Yeah.
the TOs, because there's no formal structure, and that's the
Sure.
same for the back end, because I get a lot of deck
Mhm.
lists, and it's different for every TO that I work with, which is
Yeah.
a little bit tricky at times. But and it's the reason why I want to make sure that this information gets out, because
That's
it
good.
would be very
That's good.
difficult elsewise.
When are they gonna use Eggman events for making deck lists? When can I submit my Eggman events deck, like egg deck lists? You know,
I
because
mean, I think you
I
can do it
love.
now, right?
I want to be this is a big plug, okay?
Mhm.
Eggmanevents.com, okay? His website.
Let me like PayPal you right now before I forget.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
keep going.
So his deck builder is great. Okay. The reason why I love his deck builder so much is because most of the cards don't have the word sample on them. So it actually, number one, it makes it great for content creators. Okay.
Mhm.
Like
Okay.
really good. Like we should be paying Eggman just for that alone. But on top of that, you can actually build your deck lists on there. And I think it's just better than the card dev. The card dev, I thought that was official, but that's not. It's just some third party.
It's not. There's a Digimon website, .dev. And I'll be honest, the biggest thing I wanted to do was for Fusion World, because that was a new card game,
Mm-hmm.
and it strictly didn't. But at the time, .dev was just
Mm-hmm.
slacking. They didn't have OP06. I think they just updated to OP06 cards, but
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make sure that that people just had a resource for that, and including
Yeah.
myself, to be honest. But in as much as this is the deck builder that I want, because
Yeah.
I want to be able to import stuff. That's been kind of tricky. Every
Mhm.
game has kind of their own standard, and that's just kind of what I wanted for it too. And I
Yeah.
think I took all these images, I think from the official site. I can't remember
Oh,
where some of
really?
the sources for some of these. So, but
Because I
maybe
go to the
that's not
card
right.
dev, and most of the cards that you have on there, I looked at them, like they say sample and yours doesn't. I'm like, why?
For the record, that one specifically is not my own work. I
Yeah.
worked with Chippy, who's been fantastic, who is coincidentally just moving to Arizona
Mhm.
despite any of my involvement. He's just
Mhm.
like, yeah, it made
I
sense. So
I guess
again,
the
like, this is the mecca of card games
I
for me.
guess the next level of that is like, what's the best way to print proxies? I mean, I'm not a big proxy player, right? But
Are you just asking me to use my website again?
is
Is this
that
the
like, is
question?
there a thing on your website? It's like, hey, put these cards on here. It'll literally put it on a sheet and then it'll do it all for you. Like,
Yeah. There's a whole button. It only works for Windows right now. I don't know. I'm not an Apple's guy,
oh,
so but
there actually is a proxy thing for you.
yeah.
I have to explore that, but just
Yes.
yeah.
We do put sample on those though, or proxy, the word
Okay.
proxy over
I
those.
think that's
So,
super fair. Yeah,
yeah.
of
But
course. You
there's
know.
something wrong with Apple. I'm not sure. Before I
Hmm.
did content full time, I was a computer engineer, but
Hmm.
not
But
website stuff is beyond me.
I'm sure most people who use Apple products understand the risk they take when they use Apple products.
Yeah, I mean, I use like Windows and an iPhone, but it's
It's like
like
me.
Apple is, if you know what you're doing and it's specifically made for it, you are super happy. But outside of that, it can be a little tricky.
Yeah, exactly. We've just been quiet though. I mean, we've been talking a lot in the race over here. Just having a
Yeah,
good
I'm
time.
enjoying the conversation. I'm enjoying the
Yeah, he's
conversation.
good. Yeah, I just need to
Uh,
be a hype man. I'm just messing around.
let's
Go ahead.
I want to talk a little bit about OP06 before we switch subjects, since we were talking about OP06. What decks are you guys gonna play? I'm interested. I'm interested. Sorry.
Well, so I'll be honest. I've been doing a lot of testing, and nothing has clicked yet.
Hmm.
I would say of the new stuff, I like Reiju, even though it's like a little bit limiting for deck building and kind of
Yes.
gameplay.
Mhm.
Perona's good if you get to 10 and you have Dofi in your hand. If not, it's a little rough.
Mhm.
And I haven't tried. I'm going to try the Thriller Bark version of like the stage version of Moria.
Mm,
I kind of dismissed it, and then some people are like, "You should probably try it out."
mm,
So that's like my next one that I'm going to be
mm,
trying. But nothing super duper clicked of
Mm.
those. I wanted like Yamato. I just never found it
mm.
consistent enough either.
Yeah, I'll tell you my viewpoint on it. My girlfriend, she's going to Texas with me in April. So, without playing the game yet, we signed her up for that tournament, and we got her a Bandai account and everything for that. And so, she's gonna learn the game. So the easiest thing I'm thinking about teaching her is just aggressive Yamato. And it's just gonna be great when she beats somebody who she swings at leader. Like she just puts all on a leader and swings and wins in 3 turns. That's like my goal. Okay. Is to have that happen. So aggressive Yamato, teach her that. I was doing Fortress Yamato. I don't think I like it anymore. Today was the test of like a webcam tournament. I think I make too many mistakes. I just don't think I like it. But I'm probably just gonna fall back onto Sakazuki because it is like super strong. And
Mhm.
if you make it so your opponent doesn't get to play the game, it's usually you pretty much have a pretty good time, right? And
Yeah.
then on top of that, I actually really, really, really like Reiju. That was an unexpected love that I'm having right now. And I think that deck, if you have really good fundamentals, especially with how your Dawn goes and turn by turn and how your opponent
And,
might play,
and
you're on a
really
next level.
good at drawing each G.
Yeah, if you're good at drawing ETG, if you can get a couple cards, if you can be adaptive, I think that's where it's good, right? If you
Yeah.
can be adaptive. But I feel that deck is super fun. But at the same time, I'm almost like mad at Bandai. I'm like, why do they have to restrict these cards to having Dawn same or less? Why can't it just be if your leader's Vin Smoke Reiju, right? Because
Mhm.
decks like Red Purple Law keep this deck out. Like people, you won't see pro players maining this deck because of the 1% chance they see a Red Purple Law and they have no chance. Or the mirror, whoever goes first, generally I would say has a significant advantage, right?
Yeah, the mirror is awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
someone eventually gets below Dawn, and then your
mhm,
opponent doesn't get any effects.
exactly. And so if it was more just like, hey, your leader has to be Reiju, because they basically did that anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they can't really go back and fix that now. But in a world where I can make my own TCG, I would do that because that deck is super fun. I didn't think it'd be that fun, and it's really funny because you don't actually ever use Judge. I used Judge
Mhm.
once and got the full effect off, and I was like, oh, this wasn't that crazy. I don't know. This wasn't as crazy as I thought it would be.
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
I like the deck a lot. I think it's
Mhm.
definitely it caught me, but it had a lot of reading for it, so I was like turned off by it a little
Mhm.
bit. But once I started playing it, I think it's cool,
Yeah.
and it's nearly competitive. It's just like a little bit limited.
Yeah, I think a lot of decks find it too fast, and so it
Mhm.
against anything besides Red Purple Law or a mirror, I think a lot of good players know that it's a serious deck and they can lose like a lot. So, but
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
about you,
I actually
Rafe?
I lost to one in tournament today actually.
Oh,
Um I did the same case tournament that KEK did. I was playing Moria. That's what I'm gonna play. It was between Moria and Sokka.
Mhm.
But I tested Sokka pretty early on, and I was having the same issues I was in OP05, where it's just like it felt like it just wasn't my playstyle. I couldn't get it to work. And then I tried Moria, and I'm like, oh, well, this makes sense to me. And then I'm gonna play Moria. That's what I'm gonna stick to. It feels good. It feels like the dollar version of Sakazuki, but just as strong, right? The 5 life helps in matchups where you get rushed down. So, but yeah, I versed the Reiju, and they actually did the judge combo on me and got 4 units: the blocker, the draw, the putback, and the rush. I'm like,
yeah,
it
against
was
Moria specifically, I think the Judge is good. Judge is really just
And
matchup dependent.
that's one of his. I think that's one of Rage's best matchups too. But to be honest, like Gecko doesn't really have that bad of matchups, and it just gets better. EBO1, OP07. It's kind of crazy that outside the ban, let's think some people were thinking about 8-drop Moria would have maybe got hit, but like at this point, probably not, right? So, and then
Not for a little bit at least.
yeah,
Yeah.
which we can go
So
over.
that's me. Just gonna stick to Moria and
Mm,
because I mean it's in my opinion the second best deck behind Sakazuki. I firmly believe that right now.
mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys feel about your locals or people around you, their opinions, right? But I feel like there's a lot of people just saying yellow, like Katakuri is just is some monster, but I'm just not seeing it, right? But I I don't know. It's really interesting. Um
If Katakuri is like 15% of the room, one guy is going to just see everything, right?
mhm,
Like, just if there's so many people on it, that someone's going to be really lucky with it
yeah.
and do well. But it is a bit of a menace, I think. I
Yeah.
think it does. Really, just the fact that it prevents a control deck from existing is pretty rough. Like
Yeah.
a late
Yeah.
game control deck, at least.
Mhm. Yeah. Is it I don't think it like Perona can't really do anything to it, right? So stuff like that, like actual control decks like Perona can't really
Hmm.
mess with it. But
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting because you think it might be we don't have like an aggressive yellow deck right now. Is there an aggressive yellow deck besides Yamato if you count that?
And we're counting categories as tempo, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I mean, people don't play pure category tempo. Like they don't like
Yeah.
no 10 drops, right? Like
Yeah. I don't know. Whenever I play against category, I always feel like I'm on a clock, which is like the
Mm-hmm.
same thing whenever I'm playing against aggression. So
mhm,
the feeling's the same, but yeah, I think
True.
it's
mm,
um what
mm.
they're compared to like what Bale Betty, which is
Yeah.
definitely aggressive deck, but
Yeah.
um
I try to like turn that around because I feel like when I was playing Katakuri for a bit, I felt like I was on a clock, and then I just
mm,
always had that mentality from when I face it now that they're on a clock, and when their clock hits like 10 drop, like they have to figure out they're actually gonna play a 10 drop because most of the time if you set it up they can't, right?
yeah,
Or if they
sure.
do, like you're just gonna win anyway. So,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
but maybe my Katakuri players are just not lucky. So it's not a big thing in my locals Katakuri at least.
Mm,
So.
yeah. Sounds
No.
fun.
Yeah. Do you find there's like a big difference of fun as far as the card game on the sim and in your hand? Have you changed your mind about anything since you started getting the cards in your hand for OP06?
um
Because you probably play on the sim more than anybody ever, really, actually.
not probably recorded, yes, but not. I'm sure that there's people who grind way more than me,
Mm,
but not particular. I think Reiju stocks have been up, Yamato
mhm,
stocks have been down, and I'm looking at like Corona and Gekomori. Like, can I play black competitively? I don't know. So, but
mhm.
those are kind of my thoughts, and then just I really dislike Uta and Hody Jones. Hody Jones just needs like promos that don't have release dates yet, so that's kind of
Oh,
sucks for it.
really?
Yeah, it
Okay.
does.
I was thinking about this too. I'm sure you have this, right? You have all this data. We were looking at making competitive deck lists for every deck, right?
Hmm.
So people when they go do your Iron Man challenge, they
Oh,
can
sure.
do that themselves, but they don't have to look up like a deck or they don't have to make a deck out of scratch like
Hmm.
like some people do. Like what's a what's a red purple Uta deck even look like, right? So
I don't know. You'll notice, and I made a video, but I make a video over every lead. I did not make one for Red Pro Uda because I'm just like, I don't want someone to click this and have to build this with cash money and realize that it sucks. Like, I do not want to be responsible for someone making a really bad deck. And so I even made a video going over like my day one decks,
Mhm,
and I put like Uta and Hody Jones at the beginning. Like, I literally made these because I felt inclined to. Don't make these; they're not worth it. And
mhm.
someone made a comment like, "Skip to this timestamp. The first two decks suck." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right." Like, I 100% agree. Like, I just wanted to have something, but do not. They're bad decks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough. It's
Yeah,
tough out
it's
here.
very tough. It is. It
And
is.
then on top of that, it's like a lot of backseat gaming, and obviously, especially in when you're making your content, right? As far as video game, just playing the game, or also just making deck lists, you get a lot of really. I mean, I think everyone gets this, right? Like, they're scrutinizing, especially toward Eggman's deck lists. I've never heard anything really bad, right, from my friends because they're just
Sure.
more appreciative, right? But that's what all deck lists should be, just like this is a good baseline. Change it if you want to. Is
Mhm.
that? I mean.
That's generally my like my personal lists are like that.
Mm.
A couple things. One, I think that if you were to succeed, you should have a personalized deck list, unless there's like what Mill
Yeah.
Nami where there's only like one build for it
Yeah.
anyways. But
Mhm.
I think that there's always room for decisions for that kind of stuff. And
Mm.
that's kind of like what the basis for a lot of my content and a lot of other things. There's just, hey, card games are really tough to get into for a lot of factors. Let me make one factor a little bit easier and give you just something. Let me give you 50 cards that you can play with, and then
Yeah.
you can make your changes from there. That's always been my philosophy.
Yeah. I think that's big too, especially with like a lot of new people getting into the game, right? They
Mhm.
don't know where
Yeah.
to start, and then you see them at
Mhm.
locals, and they're just kind of lost, right? Like
Yeah.
they built a
Yeah.
Frankenstein deck.
And they build this card that they swear is good, and you have to like calmly be like, I understand why you think that card is good, but I
Mhm.
assure you, it is one of the reasons you're losing because you're playing that guy.
I don't know how often at your locals like people you have to like tell people, okay, I have a whole website for this. Okay, I'm not gonna give you a deck list, just look up this, and because it's all there, right? So,
It's they know me by now.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
I can stop
yeah,
bandstanding.
because especially at my locals, people do ask me a lot of questions, and I have to kind of like direct them. Will to Win Gaming. We have these
Sure.
guides. It's like this is a full. Ooh, my webcam. We have like full, hours of guides of just like how to play Reiju, how to play Gecko Moria, how to play Sakazuki, right?
Yeah.
And it's more of an in-depth thing rather than that. And I mean, still they'll choose not to do it, right? But it's kind of meant for that competitive player. So it's
Sure.
just, but I mean, so,
Yeah, and I think that's like where like there's different flavors of content, and despite me covering a lot of competitive decks, I think a lot of my stuff is kind of like
yeah.
baseline and skin
Mhm.
deep of just saying like here are ways for you to get into the game,
Yeah.
and then when you guys want to like fully commit to like either like you guys are better at specifically saying like here is the play to play this exact deck, and here's like an hour of content. I'll be
Mhm.
like, here are my thoughts, and if you want more, like
Yeah.
that's generally where I don't take myself too seriously
I
on like a
I think
competitive
it's good
side.
to have a quick 2-minute few thoughts of it
Yeah.
because no one has all day to like actually watch an hour-long video like ours.
No.
So yeah.
No.
Um, I guess oh my gosh, I had another thing. It's really funny too, because I'm just thinking kind of more back on YouTube comments, right? Where
Sure.
people might say, "Oh, Eggman, he's covering every event," just kind of flooded with a bunch of events, and then like you might miss an event, but like Eggman didn't cover this event. Why didn't he cover this event? I don't understand. Why I was in this
That
event.
'cause there's
So,
only well, it's like 100 things, but
mhm,
I commit to always making one on my website, at
mhm,
least having that covered.
mhm,
I'm just a person. I
yeah.
don't know what to
Have
say.
you have you been still doing One Piece like tournaments for webcam? Like, is that
Yeah.
is that
Yeah,
paused or
there's one Tuesday. Yeah.
Tuesday? Okay. Is it usually every
Yeah.
Tuesday or like once a month or just depends?
It just really kind of revolves around whenever there's like a release, I usually like to because the
Mm,
one for this Tuesday specifically because there's an event this week. There's two events this week, and
yeah.
there's Santa Clara and there's the Card Magic Online.
Mhm,
So I want to make sure that there's like a test tournament, and I want to have data so people going into the tournament have thoughts. So,
mhm,
but
Mhm.
I just travel too much to make it consistent. But
yeah.
I'm trying to make it so um, every Tuesday is going to be tournament day. It's going to be switched
Mhm,
between that and Fusion World,
mhm,
where Fusion World's a little bit easier, and it's a little bit easier to get prizing for that because I can have online codes,
mhm,
which is easier to obtain, but also easier to ship and send out because I
mhm,
just take a picture and send it to people. So my hope is just to do Tuesdays, switch between Fusion World and One Piece
yeah.
continuously. Maybe switch it up in case
Sure.
like what we get
Well,
EB01 or Star Deck
pe
13, right?
people aren't
Mhm.
doing
Mhm.
webcam games yet for Fusion World, right? It's only from the client or
There's back and forth. My
okay.
biggest comment was when I announced this fusion. I had one yesterday
Yeah.
for Fusion World. My biggest response for it was, "When's the next webcam one?" So,
Yeah. I don't know if it's
uh,
what's preferred, but people were liking the digital one. So,
yeah, there's a little bit more oil work to make sure that you can set it up. It's a nice client.
oh,
It takes a little bit to get used to, but the tournament went pretty good yesterday.
yeah. Is there a
The
way to
only issue
spectate matches? I haven't been in the
there
client yet.
is there
Oh,
is. It's a little roundabout, but there is. Yeah.
okay. All right.
'Cause I was when I first wanted to do the tournament, I'm like, "Man, do I have to, like, get a guy to screen capture their own screen, but
Mhm.
not do it in, like, the table that they're at because their opponent can see their cards, and then I'd have to do that weird thing where I'd have to like cover up part of my own screen.
Yeah.
But no, they have a way to spectate matches in a lobby and make
Mhm.
it so you don't see the cards. So
Good. And you
it's
don't have to be like an admin or give you like special privileges,
mm-mm.
right? You can just be random doshmo.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. When you make a lobby, it generates 2 codes, one for
Mhm.
people who want to play in it and one for spectators. So
And
it's
you can't
actually
see other people's hands, right?
no, not at all, unless
Okay.
they turn that feature on, which I tell them not to. So
Yeah. Oh wait. Oh, you can though. Like they can.
they can though if you want to. Yeah, there's
Mm.
for I had moderately low expectations for this client just in the fact that they've never done it before,
Yeah.
and I wanted to have it low so I wouldn't be disappointed. But I've been very surprised and happy with how many actual features that are just baked in
Yeah.
already. So that being one of them.
Like it's 2024. It's actually good. Like it meets
Yes.
expectations. So.
Yes, as long as you don't mind spending money. Yes. There are
Oh.
some monetization issues
I
which can
yeah,
maybe
I
be
mean let's talk about that. I mean, if there's ever like a One Piece, client, it's gonna be the same thing. Like
yeah.
let's compare it right now, actually. What would be, I mean, you could talk about money, or I don't know if it's about play, but like time versus money in the client to get all the cards you need for a competitive deck. What does that take right now? Like right now in Dragon Ball, if someone was to come in day one, build the most competitive deck,
Well, luckily the most competitive deck is probably the cheapest deck right now.
Okay,
It's basically you take 2 starter decks at a couple rares from the
cool,
set, not even super rares, just rares, and you'll
cool.
be fine. But I think like the biggest as it's the first set of a
Mhm.
Bandai card game, which means that they underprinted it. Maybe not
Sure.
underprint it, but just they're cautious with how popular it's going to be,
Yeah.
and it's super popular. So
Mhm.
Mhm,
sealed
mhm.
product is really tough.
Well,
And
I guess I was asking if someone was to jump into the online client, because you have to buy like stuff on the
mm,
online client, right?
yeah, okay.
So
So from that side, you can still just buy 2 star decks, which you get one for free.
yeah,
So it's uh gems are 100 gems is $1
okay,
essentially. Um, the only issue with it that from my end side, it's not an issue because I'm crafting every deck.
yeah,
So I think over pack codes and gems, I got about 150 200 packs.
okay,
So I essentially got a playset of in the game.
okay,
But for someone who's not doing that, they'll get random super
mhm,
rares, and their crafting system is if you get 4 extra copies of super rares,
you
it
can,
automatically turns it into a wild card.
mhm,
But if you don't buy enough product, you won't get duplicates enough to get a wild card to craft a random one.
Mhm.
mhm. So
So,
I guess I don't know if I can ask you that. I just wanted. I guess I'm looking at the number. I'm not asking how much you spent on the games
oh, okay,
potentially,
okay,
but if One Piece was exactly similar, they made a simulator. This is the exact same process. This could be the future of One Piece in 2 years if they ever
gotcha.
make their
Okay,
own client,
gotcha. Yeah,
right? How much would
sure.
it be to like? I guess they have to reboot the game and whatever, right?
Yeah,
Which I
yeah.
hope they don't, but they probably
I'll
don't.
I'll just say it $100, 100
Oh,
max,
that's good.
and
Yeah.
yeah, nothing too crazy. I think the
Okay.
issue is that um, it's if you are just wanting to be a person to kind of dip your toes into the game,
Mhm.
$20 doesn't really do anything for you.
Yeah.
But like $60 will get you everything.
Uh-huh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that weird divide where the amount of money to get everything is lower than other card games, but until you spend that enough, like you
then you
don't get
can
anything.
then you can actually play the game, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
so
So,
okay.
I don't know. I'm probably gonna make a more in-depth video about it,
Yeah.
but I just
I'm trying to think of
Yeah.
like, if One Piece ever makes an online client, I'm not trying to play online clients
yeah,
generally, but yeah, just so
yeah.
this is
I
what
think
Batsu's saving us from $100.
yeah,
So
I
yeah.
would say their biggest issue is that they didn't have, like, any, like, free gems or, like, launch week kinda stuff. It's just like,
Yeah.
"Here you go, you got a free starter deck, and, please keep playing our game."
Hmm.
And, so that's kinda different than a lot of other kind of, like, gotcha card games,
Hmm.
simulator kinda stuff. But the second thing is that, they released the card game, and the digital client at the same time.
Hmm.
Uh, you will have 10 plus sets, when the digital client comes out,
Yeah.
officially, right? Because, obviously they're looking at it. But, in that case, how do they fix that issue, right? Where
Okay.
you get set 10's the new one that launches with the simulator or whatever, And then, but what about the 9 previous sets? How are people obtaining those cards, or what's that
Mhm.
look like? So,
Mhm.
I hope they change their monetization or their crafting system to be able to go back in time like that. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with it.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, worst case scenario, all the stuff from before is free. Everything in the future is not free. So
Yeah, I could see them having like a base set kind of thing, and
yeah,
then like all a set one
I
because
mean,
there's still a lot of base
the
one set one
game
cards.
is the game free to buy? Like I haven't played Dragon Ball. I'm
Yeah,
talking
it's
about
free.
it just because. Okay, yeah, it's good. What if the game wasn't free to buy, but you know you had all the cards? Like
I mean, I should not be in any marketing decisions because
okay,
they know they have my dollar no matter what, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess it's just more money overall. I don't know. Maybe it
yeah,
is. Yeah,
it's so
it's all about money. So
it is. So it's tricky for me to be someone who's like
mm,
mildly interested in something that I'm 100%
mm,
invested in.
Mhm, mhm. No,
Um,
yeah, but you hit it
mm,
on the money though. Like I spent about $120 to make my Goku Black deck before I had all the cards.
yeah.
Otherwise I probably wouldn't have been able to complete it as quickly.
But not only did you complete your Goku Black deck, you completed every other deck in the game more or less, right?
mm,
Yeah, if I go through it, I'll probably be missing like maybe one or two cards from a deck.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I like it just because I needed the Goku Black at start, so I had to keep
Mhm,
putting in more
mhm.
money to
Yeah.
because I just wasn't hitting
mm,
those. But yeah, I could probably make
mm,
the Broly deck. I could probably make uh Beerus. I could
Like,
probably make like the Goku Red deck.
mm,
yeah.
So me putting in that money gave me probably like
mm,
4 or 5 decks worth that I can build.
Mhm.
mm.
Not just the Goku Black, but that's the one that I
Yeah.
was shooting for.
No, I know the
Yeah.
game's really new, but I wanted to ask: do you think there's anything that needs to be banned?
No, I think the game's fine.
Okay.
Green's the best deck in the game right now.
Mm,
They have this 8-drop card that's very good. That the only answer to it is if your opponent also plays the card,
mm,
and it's color locked like it is in One Piece.
mm.
So outside of that card,
Yeah.
like that's kind of I
Or
think that's like the best card in the
yeah,
game.
we're already talking about ban lists for like another game, but I actually
Yeah,
want to segue that into our ban list. I'm sure
sure.
we had everything go on, and they did an announcement that that in June 21st, the English ban list. I think that's just when OP07 comes out, like a week
I
before, right?
Yep.
believe so. Yeah.
Yep.
OP07
If I'm
comes out.
allowed to brag, I was in Japan when they announced that I saw it with my own eyes that
Hmm.
Sakazuki was getting hit. And then I'm like, cool, all right.
Yeah.
When's it hitting North America? And they're
Dude,
like,
Yeah.
you should have seen
3
us all
months.
at home, dude. I literally had there were 50 people in our Will to Win Discord. Like just
Hmm.
I was had my phone to translate everything. Like this is the opening ceremony. So this is the opening
Yeah.
ceremony. And in the opening ceremony, like we're all just so freaking like they didn't announce
Hmm.
anything. And
Yeah.
we were all so upset actually. But you were there for the end of it when they finally announced that Sakazuki was being banned. But the problem was I mean, it's April, right? April 1st for
Yeah.
Japan.
For
But
Japan, yeah.
does that set like a weird precedent going in the future if there's any other future bans, we have to wait another whole set cuz I feel like they had good reasoning for these bans. They obviously did it for a good reason. They like to give a good explanation, but then
Hmm.
they're like, okay, we're going to let this exist in English just cuz.
Yeah. So I have a couple opinions about all of that. I'll just kind of
Sure.
monologue, I guess. But one, I am super cool with having our own unique metas in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
I do a lot of data, and it gets really tiring to see that like the end of Japan meta is our starting point, and so there's
Mhm.
not a lot of difference throughout the weeks, right? So that's and honestly, I think they probably considered it, but then uh, that November ban list was such it wasn't bad necessarily, but just the timing for it was weird. And I think if they didn't ban that one drop Nami, I think the world would be 100% different. But the fact they banned a card that they're releasing 2 days later, I think just left
Yeah.
people room to complain about it a lot. So they're probably afraid for having anything unique anymore. So I get why that is. I would have loved like Star Deck 13, EBO1, whatever,
Mhm.
that that to be affected just for something to be different because I'm
Mhm.
not compared to other formats, I'm not super looking forward to the potential of diversity in the next
Mhm.
Yeah.
couple of months. But I'm happily wrong if that's the case.
Yeah.
But and this has been a whisper. I know what people have been looking at SEO information on websites and stuff, but uh, if they don't give us unique stuff, I hope that's because they're gearing for us to be on the same meta as
Oh
Japan
yeah, the
in the near
March
future.
29th announcement. So
Yeah,
I've been seeing some tweets about that. Someone said it's a worldwide release, but I think that was just like about September 22nd when they released the game back
it
in.
could be. Yeah, I don't subscribe to a lot of that stuff. I just
Yeah.
wait for
Oh,
official.
I saw a tweet that I think people just got excited because they saw it said worldwide release, but it said September 22nd, 2022, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think that was just a that had nothing to do with that. But
No, I
they've
just know
never
that people
made
have
an
been talking about it a
announcement
lot.
of an announcement before until right now, right? This is the first, well, the second, I guess. I guess the one was the ban list, right? But they made an
But that was for
announcement. They're going to
Japan.
be an announcement on the 29th, right? So hopefully that isn't just another announcement of an announcement. But
Yeah. The Japanese fiscal year starts April 1st every year. So
mhm,
the timing usually the end of March stuff is usually when they announce stuff that they're planning for the next fiscal year.
mhm.
Um, even though
Did,
this is
did they do that
impending, but
last year in March?
they did for Digimon.
Oh,
So
but One Piece
they're
is
that
just
kind of
so
stuff.
new that it was
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
okay. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I have something to say too. Um, the way I looked at it, as far as the Sokka ban was, I know a lot of people were surprised, but from my opinion, they kind of did the same thing with Whitebeard, where it dominated at 2, 3, and 4, so they banned it. Sokka, it's had a similar run, dominating 5, 6, EB1, and then now if we look at the early OP07 tournaments, it's the margin
Mhm,
between decks has gone even further, but
mhm.
now obviously Anel has joined Sokka up there.
hmm
But like it's those two decks, and then it's like the rest, like all the way down here. So
Yeah.
um, I think the Sokka ban was warranted, honestly. But yeah, besides that, the reject one caught me off guard.
I'm
But
not
yeah, I
upset
mean,
about it though.
Yeah.
I dislike that card a lot. I do
yeah,
not know
I'm
why
not
they
upset
changed it.
about it either. I know people were expecting like Ten Mom or some of these other cards, but yeah, I think it's not terrible. I think the bans were decent for sure.
I honestly think it was like safe, to be honest.
Mhm,
Outside of like
mhm.
Mhm.
Sakazuki, it
That's
was
a great
kind of
word. Yeah,
safe. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and they did make a new Sakazuki, which actually you might see some people play because it's still blue. I know, guys, it's a joke, but it's still blue and black, which is always a good color combination, right? Always a good color combination. But
I think I'll sooner see people play Rebecca as a
Mhm.
hand attack
yeah,
5 life than
yeah,
that card.
you're probably right. But it's just a strange stuff because I mean the leader did too much, especially in this game. One of its problems is consistency, right?
hmm
Mhm.
And when your leader just like literally just makes the game easy for you consistency wise.
On top of giving
Yeah.
it a 1 drop and
Yeah.
2 drop searcher that
Mhm.
could find each other, yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
rough.
oh, that's silly. I don't know why they made the one drop searcher, but
Yeah.
yeah, consistency is a big thing in this game, and yeah, that's always gross. I mean, if you think about all the previously good decks, like Whitebeard, why it was so good, it was just so consistent, right? Like
Mhm. Mhm.
it did what it needed to do all the time, and Sakazuki, same thing. It's actually, and it got to the point where I was playing other decks and I wanted to use Sakazuki skill, and I'm like,
Mhm.
why isn't this a part of the game? Why doesn't every deck have Sakazuki skill? Because it should, it almost should have Sakazuki skill. It would change the game for sure, but I think it'd be pretty cool, right?
Yeah,
So just
For
put that
sure.
in a Reiju card and call it a stage, and
when you mention it like that too, man. Yeah, I don't know. I saw little people defending that Sakazuki's like the best, unless they dislike the yellow matchup. They're like, oh, Kurt obviously Anel's the
Mm,
best deck, but
yeah.
I,
Well, there are gatekeepers in this game, and so
there are.
there is definitely a little bit of rock paper scissors going on in this meta. I think it's just rock is really big, right?
Mhm.
But there are some really good papers out there that
Yeah.
really cover up the rock, but just like literally fold to literally
Mhm.
reparable law. So so which actually when do you know when EBO1 even comes out? Is that like mid-April or
May, I
May?
think.
I think
Yeah.
it's May. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't even get EBO1 that long then. Okay.
Not. I think we got like we have
Mm.
like a month, and then get started at 13,
You know,
and then get like another month, and then
dude, that's gonna be a
Mhm.
hot time to play One Piece at locals. I think most people. I don't know about your locals. My locals get so big whenever pre-releases show up, right, or new sets come
Mhm.
up, and it's just these little tournaments that spark like 50 plus people to show up every single time there's a line,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So, and with EBO1, and then like a month later, OP07, that's like back to back. People aren't going to be able to even like have a summer because of how much One Piece they're playing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, when we're in Arizona and where it's too hot to be outside anyways, we all just stay inside. We're fine. It's good.
Mhm.
Mhm. Do you guys have like your own little special Arizona Discord that people chat on and
Yeah, I'm not super
oh wait, is it
what is
just it's not cross the Discord, is it?
No, there's
Different
like
one.
there's like the lab.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I've heard about
There's like
that.
there's like a lab. Yeah.
Mm. There-
Uh, I don't know how exclusive it is
mhm.
outright because again, I just sit there
Yeah.
and then like occasionally look through it,
Uh,
but
I'll have to join it
I,
and see what they would say. Oh yeah, Keck, why is Keck here? But
yeah.
I have a Utah one that anyone can join, but we have a treasure hunting one, and I'm sure during this time of the year, people are like literally going, place to place to buy packs, right?
Mhm.
Especially with how
Oh,
few OP06 there is. And I had a side story real quick. I was going to
sure.
Target Friday, and I saw another One Piece player. We locked eyes right as I closed my door, and we both sprinted for the door. Right at Target, like literally dead sprinted. And then I yelled,
Bro.
"Do you want to split it? Do you want to split it?" There wasn't any packs, but
Oh man.
it was so funny.
And there's like some third guy, and like he's like in a tracksuit, so he runs or something.
There's real drama though. There's actual real drama of people, waiting, people getting fired from their job because they're like holding packs,
Mhm.
like waiting for their friends to show up and then putting them up. So
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But did you have like a little story, Hayden?
No, I was just gonna say, the worst thing is that like those aren't even like Target employees, who
Mhm.
put the cards up. It's a
Oh,
third party vendor who just has space in these targets to put these cards up.
maybe yours, mine. I've seen him be like a Target person. Where am I? Where I'm at.
Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. But most of the ones that I've seen is that it's literally a guy who shows up
Mhm.
every, and this is from Kansas and Arizona. So I've got two states on my side,
Okay.
but it's just literally a guy who just gets
Yeah.
product. It's kind of like the same guy who like stocks like the fridges
Sodas.
and like
Yeah.
the Florida, yeah, and Target. Those are, it's just like a guy who like I don't know the
Oh.
full story, but
If you
That's how
guys
it is for me. That's how it is over here for
Yeah.
me too. Or
If
at
you
least
guys could let me know in
from
the
what I've heard.
comments, if you're one of these guys, I want to know the ins and outs. Get you on the podcast. I don't need to know the ins and outs, but I'm just curious.
I bet
I
those
want
guys
stories.
don't have social media. Like
Yeah.
I'm sure they get harassed every, like they
Yeah.
just like,
I
all
want to
right,
know
gotta
the
go to Target
harassment
today.
stories. I want to know every harassment story. Like they literally show up. People are literally like, let's go. Because
Yeah.
I've just seen, because here, like Walmart, they're just Walmart or Target employees that
Mhm.
literally just put it on the shelf. And like I'll ask them, like, hey, do you get One Piece? And they're like, oh, yeah, we get tons of One Piece stuff. It'll be here if it's here. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so, but
Yeah, because there's no like release date too, because you can't even like, even if you're
mhm,
nice, it's very hard to not seem like you're heckling them.
Mhm.
yeah.
'Cause they know literally nothing. They probably
Mhm,
don't even know what the card games are. They're just like, this box goes on that shelf,
mhm.
and I put it there because I got it today. That's all I know.
Yeah. Well, usually you might get some people that are really nice to them, just asking them questions, right?
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah.
but I mean, I'll go into some and they're like, yeah, someone else just came in 5 minutes ago. We don't have any. We checked,
Mhm.
So especially Barnes and Noble. I call Barnes and Noble before I go over there. And so, yeah, it's it makes it easy thing, but I just want to like get them in my Discord. I'm like, can you just post when there is any packs? Otherwise, we know that there isn't, and we'll stop harassing you. You gotta
That
get.
that that is the nicest thing about Kansas though, was that
Mhm.
the card scene was so small. We just walk in any day of the week, be like, all right, I'll just get 6 of these. Why not? And
Mhm.
it's the
Yeah.
the product to player base
Mhm.
ratio is in my favor.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
more
don't know if
times
you've
than
ever
not.
been to the store before and you saw a ton of packs or a ton of trial decks and you got scared for a moment. Why are there so many of here? Is my
Yeah.
game dead? right?
Mhm.
Is my game dead? And like I had this epiphany one time. I didn't buy like 3 things of packs, like huge packs,
Mhm.
because I was like afraid this might be a bad investment now. Was my game dead? Or my brother bought like 7 trial decks of black, back, and
Yeah.
he's like, there was like 10 more. He's like, should I get more? Like, I might be afraid. We should have bought. We should have bought all of them, not knowing now, but it's
Mhm.
just we didn't know at the time. So
Yeah, I randomly showed up at Target right when they were putting all of their OP05 stuff out.
mhm,
And so it was like that, like, should I buy all of it? But I just got like 2 of like the double packs and like
mhm,
6 singles, and like I'll
mhm.
leave some for other ones.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
not.
it's really weird because at this point I just know a lot of people that buy that literally to resell it, right? And
Yeah.
so at this case, I literally tell myself in my head at this point, okay, my friends want this stuff, I'll buy it and
Mhm.
they'll buy it,
Yeah,
as long as
yeah.
there's a little bit of a community thing. If you know someone
Sure.
that will buy it from your friend, then you could sleep well at night, right? But if you're buying it to
Yeah.
resell it, make it, it's
Yeah,
not
as
so
long as
bad.
something goes to a good home, that's usually price is not as important as
Yeah.
because I have a bunch of cards over here from like 7+
Hmm.
years, and they just sit there. They take up space.
Hmm.
Some of that I want to own, but some of them's just like, man, if someone's happy to have this card, I'd rather it go to them than just take up space in my now cramped.
Yeah.
I started with 2 of these
Hmm.
bookshelves, and every year
Yeah.
it's like I better just
Do,
buy
do
another
you ever
one.
do you ever price your collection, by the way? Like, is that ever a thing? I only reason I asked that, I have friends that price their collections and like they like have it on a phone, like a tracker. And so
No, but only because I don't track how much money I spend on these, so that I have no frame of reference.
okay, that's fine. Yeah. I just have
Because
friends
if
that like they bought stuff. They don't. I'm guess they do probably know how much they spent on it, but
Mhm.
at this point, like they actually look up the TCG price of everything and they're like, oh, it's worth this much right now. Like,
Yeah, that sounds exhausting for something that I'm just gonna keep on my shelf anyways.
yeah, exactly. I don't know why they do that either. It's like, well, that's another thing on their shelf, that price point,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I look at one friend, they literally have like the same app, and they literally have never talked to each other before. They have the exact same app, and they're both collectors,
Mhm.
collecting One Piece, and so it's pretty beautiful. Especially they're usually pretty good players too, like 'cause
Sure.
they really care. But and
Do you
actually,
price yours?
no, I have not. I've gone like kind of through it a little bit, but like
Mhm.
it's nothing crazy, like
I
maybe a couple thousand, right?
Yeah. No.
Not,
Yeah, no, I don't price it either because I've definitely spent like 2-3 times more than what it's worth now.
Mhm.
Especially because when I buy boxes, I like to make at least 1 deck of every new deck
mm,
that comes out, and then I like to update all the old ones. So it's like I opened up 16 boxes this set
uh-huh.
opened, like,
Mhm.
and I have no I have 1 box left. I keep 1 sealed of every set, but like I opened up 16 boxes, and then like
Mm,
from there on, just because there's a shortage in my area and I'm able to get them, all the players I practice with, I sell them, play sets that I have
mm,
extras of, and stuff like that. But
yeah,
yeah, I spend way too much and
yeah.
don't collect enough.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
actually wanted to, one of those topics is how big card games is now. Maybe just from my perspective, since like last November, One Piece, at least the card market boomed, where
Mhm.
it's like literally an investment, bro. Like invest bros are like talking about a lot of One Piece, but I mean, it's like that with all card games. But because of how crazy One Piece is now, like it almost doesn't make sense financially to even open a box now, right? It makes sense to buy a box and then, I mean, you get all the cards you need, but after that fact, you keep the box to maybe resell it later as a collection, right? And it kind of causes this repeating effect where people are just only buying boxes to sell boxes, to buy boxes to
Mhm.
sell boxes, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. I don't know if you guys noticed that or like how big it is, and it's just because the investment. Like, there's huge investments. Why would you put money in a stock market when you know you can just buy a bunch of blue Sanjis and then resell them in a year from now when they're worth 10 times more, right? Or categories, any version of
Yeah.
these kind of cards. So,
Yeah. So someone can definitely fact check me on this, but this
mm,
this has been my perspective for a long time. It wasn't always that way. I think
mm,
kind of the spark, the moment in history was Logan Paul
yeah,
specifically. He made like a really big deal, and he made it really mainstream about how rare and collectible these cards are. And then I think it kind of doubles up with just people getting older. Yu-Gi-Oh's been around for a long time in Magic, and
mm,
so with that being like people who've made money and they're like, oh, I have investment of like my childhood goods, which have now shifted into 20 years ago card games. That is, yeah, people who invest money on collectible stuff usually do it for stuff that meant a lot to them when they were kids. And people with money or people who used to play card games as kids now, with just how that oldness went. So I think there's that nostalgic for people who are collectors now. I think it's mainstream enough for that, and I think One Piece is probably the biggest game to probably shake up the big three in the last couple years. I think that's the other point.
Yeah, I mean, it was like the front page of TCG Player recently. I mean, it has been recently, but with OP06 being there, it's just like I think people look at TCG Player as like how popular a card game is, how fast are cards selling, right? But
well, they pay for the banners though, right? I could put Eggman events on there if I paid enough money, but
I didn't know that.
Yes, yeah, but yeah, I still think that's it. And again, someone can fact check me in the comments if there's like a fourth game that in the last couple of years, but Bandai's always been in that fourth, fifth place seed for card games, fluctuating over the last couple of years.
There was a time where Card Fight Vanguard was doing really well, but that's just I was playing that card game, but it was like it's like really close to Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball's probably a little better, right? So it definitely was like that more like the not top three, right?
And
so.
like as someone who's done all these games, Masters was close to it at a time, but then dipped in popularity. Digimon was there for a time, but dipped from popularity. Battle Spirits was nowhere close at a time. And then and then I think One Piece, as someone who's again played all these, I think it's been the hypest one to break close to the top three than the rest.
It's really funny because it has a lot of nostalgia because the IP, right? But there isn't card game nostalgia like, oh, I played this card game 20 years ago. I played this card game 20 days. Like this came out like a year and a half ago, right? And I remember you talking in your podcast, who are these people that are just buying thousands of dollars in prize cards, right? Like who are these people? I need to talk to those people. So
are they secret Bandai investors to keep people playing the game? I don't know.
I honestly, it's like market manipulation, because that's been happening on TCG Player. If you haven't seen either, people will list cards for way too cheap, like, oh, it's this much, or waste for way too high and buy it, and then like, oh, last one sold 140. Right?
Okay, so. There was one. Okay, I don't remember what card game this was. Was it the one that was selling something for $1 and they had like 1,000 of them or something?
Okay.
There's something. I think it was a Dragon Ball card.
Okay.
And my head canon is that they just accidentally put the reverse.
Yeah.
Instead of selling one card for like 1,500, they said that they had 1,500 of a card that they were selling for $1. Yeah, I have no facts for that. When I saw them, like, if you flip the numbers, it makes sense, and I'm guessing it was just an error, but
because they're right next to each other. If you've ever listed anything on TCG Player, like the price and the quantity, so you can see how that can get mixed up pretty quickly. So that's,
for sure,
that's so funny when I think about that. Like,
if that's what happens, it's very funny. And I think there's protections from TCG Player, but it's going to cost you money to get that like fixed if that's the case.
Yeah, I guess so. It's more of like a frustration, but I mean, TCG Player has other issues. But another thing I wanted to bring up that was just so funny. I'll think of it, right? So
1,500 manga Luffy's for $1.
Yeah. Well, market manipulation. This IP being so good, so hot, it's new. Who are all these people? I don't remember what I was talking about. Maybe it was just that. Like,
one quick aside is that One Piece has been around for a little less than me, but since I've been conscious, right? So it's been around forever, and for it to not really ever have a card game in the States is pretty wild. Apparently, I didn't know this until recently. It had a couple
like
different card games, in Japan, just never popular enough, even in Japan. But this one was good, and I think that One Piece as an IP just generally had a good year last year. So to already have this really big marketing card game that also happens to be really good and competitive, I think just the stars aligned in a lot of ways for it to have success.
And also one big thing, and this is a big gripe, right? And it's actually Bandai and their competitive card games, things like Nationals. it makes it really hard to play multiple of their card games because they want you to play like all their card games, right? Like if you're playing, you think that, but the way they have it structured, why is it that all the tournaments are the same day? Why can't One Piece be one weekend, Dragon Ball be another weekend, and then
So that was unique for this year.
Oh,
every other year has been separate days, and
okay.
My guess is that it was just one, Bandai's kind of more uniformed of being all their card games this year. So since they had these card fests all over Asia, they wanted to have one for North America. And I'm guessing the cost was so high that it wouldn't make sense to have the individual ones.
Yeah.
But I do agree it's counterintuitive to have something that says, oh, all our card games work together, and then make you have to choose one of them. So
exactly, because most people went to One Piece, right? I would say.
Yes.
Actually, do you know how big the other tournaments were? Like, not to like say, oh, these weren't as big, but like they were big enough. Just
Dragon Ball was like 300, between 300 and 400. BSS was like 100 and something, but that was an invitational tournament.
Yeah.
And then Digimon was, I think I can look it up. I think they cracked 100, 1,000. Yeah, they definitely cracked 100, but I think they cracked 1,000.
Are nationals from now on? Are they just going to be invite only too, as far as we know? Like,
I have no idea.
Okay.
I am not,
because I know they're doing 2 nationals, and having like if it was invite only, it would have only been 500 people, right? Compared to 2,000 plus the hundreds of spectators that were there.
Yeah.
Probably 1,000 spectators, really, right?
Yeah.
And so
my quick things is 2 things. One, if they wanted to have that entire space committed to a One Piece tournament, they could have done it. 2, and all the seats would have been filled. I think One Piece is popular enough a game for that. 2, I think if they had to prove to investors that this was really popular and people were showing up, making the tournament exclusive would not have shown that.
Yeah.
So, my guess, and this is all conjecture in my opinion, but my guess is that they wanted to show that the game is popular, and restricting it to 500 invitees would not have done that.
Yeah.
So that is probably why they did what they did.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I wonder if they're going to keep doing that though. But I'm actually fine with an open invitation, right? I don't really, I don't need an invite. Having like a 2-round buy is interesting, right? In its own right, but not exactly needed. But they're trying to have some more stores have invites, right? These store championships, which
they've done for Digimon and Dragon Ball in years past. They took away from both of them this last year, so I think they're adding them back from
Did you ever see a problem with that before? I had a problem with that at a different time. Vanguard. So
it's just how they usually do it's fine. Every locals is different, right?
Yeah.
And surely some people pretend to have a locals and they'll get a free invite from it.
Yeah.
There's just no escaping that, right?
There's no
literally someone's going to take advantage of it, right? And that's every system. But
yeah, if I won at one locals and I go to the other one, I'm about to win the other one. You know, how much for me to throw? I mean, no, I'm not saying you should do that, but people do that. People do that.
Yes, I mean it's
bad. Yeah,
it's just unfortunately just the consequences of having anything competitive or anything with value on the line.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is that the regionals are really tricky to travel to, and I think the last time they did it was also because COVID was still kind of around a little bit, so they didn't want to like force people for that.
Yeah,
but I don't know. It's really tricky.
Yeah, it's really tricky, and there's so many pros and cons to online, offline when it comes to all facets of it. But the biggest one is cost, right?
Yeah,
that's my biggest one. If we could find a way to circumvent cheating by adding more time, right? If that is an issue, because people still cheat in offline, right? Doesn't matter. I'm not saying that's a big thing that people do. I have never really caught someone cheating. But
I mean, people cheat no matter what. It doesn't matter the medium. I think like the online client obviously like makes it really, really tough, but I'm sure people will find ways to give themselves advantages. But as someone who's been doing competitive events, it's just something you kind of have to deal with. And I don't think it's anywhere. I'm a really, really big supporter for webcam events because it makes it accessible for a lot of people, and it's a cost, but it's one that I don't accept people cheating, but it's I don't know how to say it better, but yeah, it happens, and as long as we do our best to minimize it.
It happens, and as long as people try to protect themselves, it will eventually be something we kind of don't think about as often,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
and it's kind of interesting thing about these tournaments, right? Being so competitive, and I wanted to go into tournaments a little bit, so I know
Sure.
we've gone a little far. I don't know if you guys are like on time. I have all day, but I guess
I can do like 15, 20.
okay. So yeah, the hardest part of One Piece tournaments. Okay, the hardest part, number one, for most people, is signing up. Okay,
Yeah.
that is the actual hardest part about One Piece tournaments. And I did a poll on Twitter a few weeks ago asking people if they would prefer the normal sign up method we do now, first come first serve, or a raffle. And this is kind of more toward US people that are already used to this first come first serve.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be very raffle based, but it's not. It's like 50-50, maybe more people for first come first serve. But a lot of people have a hard time signing up at 12 p.m. EST or 9 a.m. PST, right?
Yeah.
Every Sunday for a bunch of tournaments, and then you have to be playing Osu, clicking back and forth and getting into all of them. And I don't really think, you guys tell me if I'm wrong. I don't know anyone who uses like a bot to sign up, because it's really hard to sign up to begin with, right?
Yeah, because everyone uses different platforms too.
Yeah. Usually I'll have a huge community.
Yeah. If I'm allowed to monologue again, a couple things. One, I did get like a lot of different perspectives when I was in Japan. And the reason I make this up or say this is, one, most places are, since that country is so densely populated and their locations are, you can just get a train to go anywhere. So travel is not really much of a thing, or as difficult as it's saying like, oh, I live in Kansas and the tournament's in California. I have to like put an entire weekend plan, hotel, plane, like the whole thing. And two, Bandai only has one TO, and it's themselves. So it's very easy for them to be organized.
They don't even have judges yet. So
they have judges in Japan.
They just
right?
recently came out with like a new judge program, I think.
Okay.
So maybe I'm half wrong. I'm probably half wrong.
Maybe I'm half right. I don't know either way. But the main thing is I'm saying is that like everything's really uniformed in that. And so, and the third thing I was going to say is that they are really big fans of doing lottery systems out there, and not necessarily just Bandai, but it's really ingrained for like getting items, or like I've been told like for like, even if you want to go to a concert, you have to like, there's like raffle systems for a lot of this. So I think what the idea is that if they have 3 of them, like you can raffle and then you can win. You win one, but then there's like a chance you win all 3, and you have to buy the ticket before. So like it's weird for that.
There's ways around that, and I've heard people already, let's say, have 2 Bandai IDs, right? And they sign up and they lottery, which is fraud, right? So
it is. If they get caught, they will get strictly. That is like the one thing Bandai will not. It is strictly in their terms of services that you will get banned indefinitely if you do that. So
I've just heard that people like, how does this person get into a lot of these tournaments with the lottery system? There's no way, right? Like there's always the same name I'm seeing in here, on these tournament tops. It's like, well, they can't get into every single one unless they were doing something a little funny. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah. But... So my solution, and I won't claim it's perfect, and I'm not saying that it's logistically any better, or it might be even harder for people who organize this, is that, one, you don't do them all at the same time. I think they do that with the idea that you'll get into one of them.
Okay.
But I think the better thing is just to kind of stagger them over days. And if you get into one, you can't get into any others in that same grouping.
I like that. Yeah.
So if you have 4 events in April, March 1st, the first one goes live. March 2nd, the second one goes live. Something like that. And if you get in the first, second, third, fourth, if you get into one, you can't get into any others in that same block.
Yeah, I like that. The only thing is, some people can't go to some of them anyway. The dates. But then that's just tough luck, I suppose. Right?
Yeah, and the other thing, and the other political thing, is that since there's more than one TO, there will be, if you want to be the first one, right? Because you're guaranteed to sell out.
Yeah.
But if you're the 4th one, there's chances that you don't, right? So I know that there's also it's not that easy, right? And
Mhm.
because there's more than one TO, there's like favoritism,
Yeah.
or there's that kind of thing
Yeah,
for it.
for
But
sure.
Yeah.
so
I would say right now though, like you're guaranteed it'd be cool. You're guaranteed to get into one, but then if there's still available room in the other ones, then they can just get into two, right? So
yeah, so it's the thing, and it also fluctuates with popularity, right? But I think it's pretty clear that it's any 512 One Piece event will fail out no matter what at this point.
Yeah. No.
Even if there's just 512 players, they want to be in each one of those.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean, even us, right? Like
Yeah.
we sign up to
Mhm.
every single one that we possibly can.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I probably wouldn't be a fan of the lottery system just because of the fact that I see the size of some of these wait lists and it's thousands of people. We have a
Mhm.
500-man tournament with 4,000 people signed up. Now your chances are really bad to get into this tournament,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right? And if that's so I think
Mhm.
obviously there might be a solution eventually, but
Mhm.
like Eggman was saying, that's a good idea to be able to, just stagger the days out,
Mhm.
give,
Mhm.
the most amount of people chances to play,
Yeah.
not just, the same
Yeah.
100 people get into every single tournament and then it's, 300 different people, 200 different people because,
Yeah.
some people are just faster than others and
Yeah.
some people can't sign up on certain days. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, but
um,
that also means that one, the TOs talk to each other and they know who signed up for the first one.
mhm.
And so even though it's good on the I've been around enough that there's no free lunches, right? If something's good for one person, it means it's like more work or more difficult for the other side. So
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
it'd be a lot more work on the back end for that kind
Yeah.
of thing.
But in a perfect world where we can't make that work, I think I like your version of it personally. So
Yeah, I have no hopes that it will be implemented, but I
yeah,
think it'd
but
be a good
I
idea.
think it's a great, I think it's a great idea, and it doesn't seem too bad,
Yeah.
But I guess a kind of a side thing too. One thing they had I'm not sure if it's a problem, right? Definitely not in the U.S. It's region locking, and that's actually with offline. Offline. Okay.
Mhm.
Australia, they had a thing where they region locked it to only Australian players
Mhm.
unless there's extra room. Then
Mhm.
you can't like pre-sign up for that because I guess it's a very common thing. I would probably do the same thing if I lived in Singapore. That you go
Mhm.
over from Singapore, go over
Yeah.
to Australia. It's only a hop across the pond, and then they play in those tournaments. They do well on them. They make good prize cards, and then go back over to Singapore. Nice little vacation. That's probably
Sure.
that's probably cheaper than from going to Kansas to California, right? And
Probably, yeah, 100%.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I don't know if you guys thought about that. I don't think they're gonna do anything extra. I don't think that's a problem in any other region, right? But like obviously a lot of people from North America, they went over to EU to play in EU
Mhm.
nationals, and probably vice versa. But
Yeah, I think the probably the best way is just have like I guess like a set amount of time for like
mm,
people in the country, and then
mm,
after that it's free for all, I guess.
Mhm.
mm,
But I don't know. I did get like the pleasure of going to Japan and playing against people in
mm.
Japan, even though I didn't speak the language very well. And that was really cool on a lot
Mm.
of levels. So
Did they
um,
know? Did they know at least the English of like the card game, like attacking and like saying a number?
no, so I was a coward. So, and I say that because I played only Dragon Ball.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because one, Americans are better at Dragon Ball because they didn't get masters in Japan. And that's my
Mhm.
opinion, but it's true. And two, if I wanted to play One Piece, I'd have to be caught up all the way to OP07, which I was not
Yeah.
confident in. So I played more of Japanese, but also all the Dragon Ball characters are named the exact same, which makes it very easy. The card
Mhm.
effects are very quick and easy, and the card pool's really small.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
that's how I cheated for that. But yeah, there's
Mhm.
like when attacking is like
Mhm.
attacky G, when blocking is like blocky
Yeah.
G, and then like they're not called counters in Dragon Ball, they're called combos, but they're the
Yeah.
so it's like combo nashi means no
Yeah.
combos. So um
Yeah.
and you
Actually,
can like point in person, so it was easy, but most of it was me struggling to say
mhm.
Japanese to them than
Yeah.
they than
Actually, let's make this kind of like one of the more last segments too. I want to talk a lot more about Japan and how that was because I haven't
sure.
had anyone on the pod. This is first podcast after Japan. But
Yeah.
Wraith, have you ever been to Japan yet?
No, I plan to next year, hopefully
Next year?
for Worlds. Yeah,
Good. Yeah.
but
We should
I've
go.
never.
You and I.
Yeah,
I need a
let's do
roommate. So I need a
it.
big spoon. I'm obsessed. So no, with that, it's I was in Japan like in 2020. Like this is right before COVID. Like literally a
Okay,
week.
hope yeah, I was gonna say
It was a week before. Like I landed back in the United States, and COVID was a word like that I heard. You know, like right as I landed. So,
Sure.
were you guys like in Akihabara area? Like it was like one train stop away from Akihabara.
I was moderately close, so I'd say that was the place I visited the most, just
Mm-hmm.
because it was like not only arcades but card games were there
Mm-hmm.
a lot. Um, but yeah, Akihabara is pretty good, and if you really want to get into it,
Yeah.
card game culture is way different in Japan.
Yeah. Very
And
serious sometimes.
it's well, it's serious in the fact that a lot of people are doing it, but um, I would say that a lot of people, at least the people I talk to, take card games as more like super competitive, as like almost like a sport. I think it is a sport in its way, but like as like a thing that you need to get good at,
Mm-hmm.
maybe, and maybe just because like the pricing for One Piece is so good right now. But
Mm-hmm.
they definitely treat it more as like a hobby and something that you can do and more casual. There's definitely good players and people who take it seriously in Japan too, but
Mm-hmm.
the culture is different, and I think it's something also with like just how like stores and like location wise in Japan works. But it's easier to just have like a small little like postcard of a room, but it's like your card shop, so you sell stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Card games are very ingrained in the culture in the first place. In Akihabara, I went to like dozens of stores, and all of them had like singles for sale. One Piece was really popular
Mm-hmm.
uh, for that one specifically, and
Yeah.
it's just really interesting to see how regular it was, or how again like mainstream
But
it was out
was
there.
there a lot of One Piece like advertisements on the side of the subway, stuff like that, or
Not particularly when I went. I
okay,
know that they've existed in the past, but not for this.
yeah,
But I do remember I did go to Card Fest out there, and
mm,
I was very obviously in a train filled with One Piece players
yeah,
for that part
yeah,
of the travel.
okay. Because when I was there, and I mean, it was already there. It was really crazy. Card Fight Vanguard was a very popular card game at the time, and also had
Hmm.
like its own mobile client. Did you
Oh
see
yeah,
anything of that? Any Bushy Road stuff? Most of the card shops were about that,
uh,
but they had other
yeah,
card
yeah.
games for sure.
Bushy Road, obviously, yeah, I saw some advertisements for those for sure. I think those
Mhm.
games are just more popular in Japan as is.
Okay.
Battle Spirits is really popular out there.
Mm.
You might get culture shocked by how just okay it
I.
is, at least popularity
Mhm.
wise. But yeah, it's a different game, but it's very popular out there.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I've heard I'm from your podcast that it was popular out there,
Yes,
so
yes, yeah,
I haven't
yeah.
even
That
seen a game of someone playing that in real life yet.
Yeah,
So
and real quick, so Battle Spirits is actually 20 years old, and so
okay.
it came out in like 2005 simultaneously, and it didn't really catch on in North America. But Japan, they're like, okay, cool, we're on set 40 now.
Mhm.
And so last year, or was it last year?
Yeah.
I think it must be, yeah, last year.
Mhm.
It's been a wild year. It's they try to reintroduce it into United States, and so they call it Battle Spirit Saga, which means they have different card pools, and there's like some minor rule differences that I'm
Mhm.
not aware of, but I know they exist. And so that's a difference. So it's Battle Spirit Saga, which is
Mhm.
different inherently, but very similar to the two. And
Mhm.
they're trying to re-release it here in North America, and since it's their own IP and they own everything, I think that's very um,
Mm.
coveted by Bandai.
Yeah. Did you how long were you guys out there for? Like, it seemed like a week, right?
Uh, 10 or 11 days.
10, 11 days. Okay. Got
Yeah,
it. Did you get everything under the hood for food wise? Like, is it
yeah. It was pretty good. I have
mm,
a nut allergy, but that's very non-existent out there in
yeah.
comparison. So despite not speaking the language very good, it was moderately comforting that I could just eat most anything without being scared about it.
Mm.
Mhm.
And so that was good. Our friend Brian was with us for the first week, and he's allergic to fish,
Wait, what?
which is very funny. In comparison to come like
Yeah.
to the seafood capital of the world.
No, yeah.
And out of respect, we didn't really, and most of the food was like sharing and stuff, so we didn't have like
Yeah.
sushi until like day 8. But like
Mm.
we had like 2 or 3 times afterwards. But
Mm.
it was really funny just having
Mm.
to do that, and then being able to just go crazy
Yeah,
on it.
I was in Jonas's DMs a lot. Like, you have to go get katsudon. It's like, it's the bowl. It's really cheap. It's super delicious. I don't know what it is. I can't get anywhere else, basically.
I'm a big fan of curry, so that
Yeah.
the curry out
The
there
s-
is amazing.
The same shops, right? They have curry or katsudon. So yeah,
and
it's
you sometimes
delicious.
combine, so that makes it super good.
Yeah, but yeah, it was probably very culturally delicious as far as that goes. But
Yeah, it was good, and you're walking everywhere, so you're kind of
yeah,
working it off.
was it raining a lot then, or was it like really cold? Like, was there?
It was like, I mean, I live in Arizona, so everywhere else is cold now, but
Yeah,
it was usually like light sweater and pants kind of
yeah,
weather.
but it wasn't like
Rained
raining or
once or
anything.
twice.
Okay.
Again, more than Arizona,
Yeah,
but not
because
anything too
it's
crazy.
really bizarre, like how to use umbrella. Like, people will go there and be like, "Oh shoot, I need an umbrella," but literally there are communal umbrellas. Like
Yeah, it is the umbrella culture out there is crazy.
yeah, I've the umbrella culture. You guys will be shocked. Like, when you go to a store, your umbrella is wet, right? So right before you
They
go
have
into a
little
store, they have a little thing. You put your umbrella in, and it wraps it in plastic so it can't drip everywhere. Or
Mhm.
you can just leave it for somebody
And
else to get.
you will not be worried about getting stolen unless you put in like the communal bin. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
umbrellas are common. Everyone has an umbrella. It's commonplace out there.
yeah, exactly. It's really interesting. You don't see people like grabbing 100 umbrellas, right?
Yeah. I mean, comparison, like, what, there's not as much foot travel in the States, but even then,
Mhm.
I don't even know if I own an umbrella right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's
If
not
I did, it
something you
was
think about, but
Arizona. Yeah.
it's needed there. You're like, wow, I actually need this because I'm
Mhm.
walking quite a bit, and then you
Yeah.
have to get a SUI card. You have to learn how the bus stop works, and every bus
Yeah.
stop there's like a different whistle,
Yeah.
and so it's a culture thing.
There's stamps at every, my partner Yomi, she was really, we didn't get all of them obviously, but she, every time there was a different stamp, she's like, "I gotta find the stamp," and then she had a little book for it.
A
So
stamp like at every
yeah,
train stop.
every train stop. Yeah.
Does it like a conductor like have that or
No,
something or?
they're all like uniquely designed, and they kind of say like what station you're at, and then they have like a
Mhm.
design that shows it. So like they're like the one that was for the Tokyo Tower had like the tower in it and that kind of stuff.
I
So
think that's super cool.
yeah, she got like 10 of them. There's like probably 100 of them, but it
Yeah.
was a fun little side quest.
Okay. Got it. Great. Is there anything you guys want to talk about before we go to our last topic?
Depends if what's the last topic.
Oh, hot takes. Any
Hot
hot
takes.
takes, differences, ideas.
Oh boy. You guys go first. Let me see how hot your takes are, and let me meet the room.
I mean, I don't think I have any hot takes, anything crazy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, I just overall I think
Mhm.
One Piece is definitely, like you said, probably the only card game in the last couple of years that even stands a chance to crack into that top three.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if they play their cards right, it's bound to happen. I know people that play the other three, like they're like, no, it's not gonna happen.
Mhm.
They don't want it to happen, but it's coming. That's my
Mhm.
opinion. I firmly believe that it will. But you know,
Yeah. We need one
nothing
good
crazy.
nationals and then we'll be in. Okay. One good nationals and then we'll be the top three, basically.
One good tournament.
One good tournament. We just need one. I guess I don't have like too much of a hot take, but like words of wisdom. And it's kind of hit me this last weekend because of how playing this much One Piece and a new set, right? Burnout is a real thing. So one thing people have to focus on is trying to have fun in the card game. So don't always take it too seriously playing the best deck. And if you're not doing that, you're wasting your time because you're not. You're gonna find if you have fun with the card game in multiple ways, then you're gonna end up having a long longevity in this card game. So you're able to actually actually play better. I find that people that actually enjoy the card game play better. So
Yeah, I think that's fair. And quick aside, OP05 was such a big set, not only because of like it's like the 1 year anniversary and like
Mhm.
what they put in it, but the meta shifted quite a bit, right? Because it went from OP, like almost none of the things that were meta in OP04 made it to OP05, right?
Mhm.
Or at
Yeah,
least at the same, because we had
yeah,
Purple Luffy, Sakazuki, and Enel take up about 2/3 of the format.
yeah.
Mhm.
I think OP06 is just going to be part two of that in a little bit. Like those two of those backbones are still there with like some minor variations. So Yeah, I think the burnout will be moderately there for people, especially again. I'm not looking for 3 more months of like doing pie charts where Sakazuki is like a healthy amount of it. But
Don't worry, I'll get rid of him.
all
I'll
right,
get rid of
cool,
him.
cool. Bring back green purple Dofi. Just do that.
Yeah,
That'll make
I
me
don't
happy.
know. I don't know if it's possible. I mean, it's not possible to like cause enough stir to have them to do anything about it. So that's why I wanted to make sure people just try to have fun, like in your own way. In your own way. Yeah.
Since they've given us a date, right? We can't ask them to move it up. But I will say the hot take formally, and it's mostly one. I'm going to be doing a lot of Fusion World content because at my core I am a Dragon Ball Super fan, and that was where I started making card game content. So, but I'm still supporting One Piece as much as I can. But it is super duper refreshing having an open meta where everything's new for everyone at the same time, and not having to look back in time. It's only solidifying that. I would love to either, if we're not getting caught up with them with Japan, just having your unique metas, I think is really healthy for a lot of reasons.
Yeah. Good. And great. Well, with that, I just want to do a little bit of outros. Wraith, where can we find your content? Anything else fancy going on? Any plug shout outs?
Yeah, no, we have a Jeopardy this month. The people I wanted to get into, they were kind of busy the first half of this month, and then I'm kind of busy the second half, so you might get it early April.
Yeah.
But besides that, I'm still gonna be doing my daily content at AwakenedTCG. If you don't know me by now, go ahead and search me up. I do daily content.
Down below.
I take the content serious. I take my competitiveness serious. So hopefully you guys will see me top again. But yeah, that's about it. You can just follow me at AwakenedTCG.
And then Eggman, where all your plugs.
It's Eggman with 1G, just to bring it full circle. But I have a YouTube that I upload week daily, if not more often. I do Twitch, and which I stream around 4 or 5 times, including when is this video coming out?
Probably coming out tomorrow, Monday. Yeah.
All right. Tuesday night, I'm doing a big 128 player OP06 tournament, so that you guys should be there. That should be a lot of fun.
Sick.
And then I have a website that now has a deck builder, so that's been pretty good. And I also do my own podcast. It's bi-weekly. It's not One Piece focused. It's more of just talking about my experiences and my business partner's experience with card games over the last couple of years. So not One Piece comes up a lot, obviously, but more of just the culture and what we've seen, and usually what our guests' opinion over it the last couple of years. So
yeah,
episode, I think we're on like 3 episodes so far.
Yeah, so you need to go to, you're going to 4 now, right?
Yeah, so, if we include episode 0 as 0, when we accidentally chosen a name that someone already had. Something like that. It's hard to keep track.
Yeah. Wait, was it called a different podcast and you renamed it to Moderately Played?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Moderately Played is untaken as far as.
What was the first one?
I don't.
Episode 0.
Episodes. I can't remember what I thought it was like a good name.
It was a good name.
It was catchy. It was
too good though.
It was too good because someone else had already used it.
Yeah.
What was it?
Apparently, there's a KEK cast already out there. How is that possible?
Oh, it's Unsleeved. It was Unsleeved,
Unsleeved.
Which is a Magic the Gathering podcast.
Yeah,
which of the big 3 Magic's probably the one I know the least about, to be honest. So
Magic,
it's just a miss on my part.
Gathering.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Wizards of the Coast. Yeah, that's good. Well. And you guys know where to find Dave. You're probably watching this already on Spotify, on YouTube. If you're watching this, you're at the end of this. You know you're a real one. Thank you all so much for watching this video. And we're going to see you all in the next one. Ciao.
Bye.